Hello and welcome to Getting Real with Paula. My name is Paula Alphonse and I am a transformation facilitator. Tonight we are talking with Oladunni Esuturie about building wealth as a family. Yes, you heard me. Wealth as a family. It is never too early to raise your kids and teens awareness about money management rather than just the spending of it. So take a pen and some paper and let's learn the basic of building wealth with Oladunni. So Oladunni, can you tell us a little about you? Who you are, what you do, how long you've been in financial management, and what brought you to entrepreneurship?
So hello, Paula. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. And especially on a special day like today, it's Pink Shirt Day. So, we're kind of coordinating, right? Celebrating no more bullying. So also say no more bullying in our finances. So a little bit about myself. I was born in Nigeria. Yes, love to all my Nigerians out there. And then I started insurance, worked in banking. But I was always a hustler. I ran several businesses on the side, always selling something, always doing something. And also had other passions in music and acting, so quite passionate that way. And then we got the opportunity to move to UK when I got married with my husband. Became a chartered accountant while I was there. Worked for the government, worked in banking and finance again, and then I kind of took on the entrepreneurship journey in UK and started running my own accounting practice. I really wanted to focus more on helping people. And then eventually we got the opportunity to come to Canada again. Yes, I was always following the man everywhere he goes. I follow him. So we came to Canada and to Saskatchewan, cold Saskatchewan, but I love it here. And then again, I got back into financial services, got back into my passion. Working with families, business owners with their finances, helping them make money, save money, plan for the future, stretch those dollars, and just make sense of their financial journey. Because we're all the same, whether Nigeria, UK, or Canada. We simply want our money to work hard for us while we're working hard for it. So I'm married for 18 years now, almost 20. I got 3 boys, 13, 8, and 2. Well, they say there are 4 boys in the house and 1 mommy because daddy's at work too. So,
So we're not going to let him hear that.
Oh, he knows he's one of the boys.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I'm going to start with the first question that comes to mind. What does wealth means to you?
That is a pregnant question. And especially because I've had the opportunity to live across different continents and finding out that sometimes in each continent I've lived in, the definition of wealth has always been slightly different there and has affected how I also thought about wealth. So growing up back in Nigeria, in Africa, in a middle income family, wealth was really the building of physical assets, right? Owning physical assets and also a good name, the value of a good name that you pass on to your children, right? So whether you had all the money in the world, but if you had a bad name, you were not wealthy, right? If you went somewhere and they said your name and everybody cringed, or your name could not open doors for your children, you were not wealthy, right? So that was our definition from Africa. And we did everything cash. You built houses, you built it cash, right? There was really no credit. It was frowned upon to borrow from people, right? So that was the definition of wealth in Africa. So that's what I grew up with, right? And then moving to Europe, to UK, the definition of wealth kind of switched a little bit. So it was still the acquiring of assets, but it was sometimes the building of assets on a foundation of a little bit of debt, right? But it may not necessarily have always been passing on a good name because the value of a name was not truly understood. Yeah. Right? Sometimes you ask someone, what does your name mean? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, oh my God, you know the power in your name and the identity it gives you? And then those definitions of wealth started to change. And the further north we came, also the slimmer the definition of wealth, it came down to things, the acquiring of things. So people are always focused on acquiring things rather than having greater value. And now, the longer I've been in financial services, I've come back to what wealth really was when I was growing up: real value. What is your net asset? How much wealth that continues to generate are you creating, not just owning of things? So that's kind of where my journey has taken me on my understanding of wealth across different places. It's come back to let's acquire real wealth, things that you can pass on to your children, right?
Thank you. Thank you. So, what I'm hearing is when you're in Africa, at least when you left, the idea was I pay for everything. And then you get to Canada or North America, and it's just like, we're charging everything. And then
That's right.
eventually, somehow we'll pay it off. Maybe.
Sometimes maybe we'll pay it
Maybe.
off.
Are we just putting the minimum balance, or do we pay the full debt right out?
That's
And
right.
it's important to me that we discuss this aspect because you have youth that are able to get to credit around 16, 17, 18,
Yeah.
and they don't even understand what that little plastic card truly means and how we can enhance or maybe totally wreck their life or their credit.
Yes.
So, what would be some tips or wisdom nuggets that you want to share with the audience today?
I think that the first thing is helping children and even adults focus on net worth, or rather than credit worthiness. We have
Okay.
such a heavy focus in North America on what's your credit score? What's your credit score? Hey, stop. What's your net worth? Right? How much do you truly own?
Yeah.
Right? Of what you of the income you make. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you were making 100,000 every year for the last 20 years. Did you know you made over 20 million?
100,000 gets you to 20 million?
Gets you to 2 million, right? Multiply
Okay.
100,000 by 20, sorry, that gives
Okay.
you 2 million. So you've actually become a millionaire in the last 20 years
Yeah, never felt it.
because you were always told to focus on credit score,
Okay.
not net worth,
Okay. I have
right?
to say, I wish my bank account would have as many zero as come with the millionaire, but look, let's keep
But
talking.
we are,
Yeah.
right? We simply haven't been made to focus on the value we're building, right? We're earning this income, but who is telling you how much are you keeping? So it's when we're talking to children, it's teaching them how to keep money rather than always spend money,
Yes.
right? So my 8-year-old, wanted to said, "Oh, mom, I want to buy this." So like, well, you got to earn the right to have it. So he decided to start a business, right? So his business was picking all the milk bottles and all that and returning it to the recycling. And they gave him the last time $12 something, and he wanted to go to the store. And I said, well, you can't spend all your money because you've got to keep it so you have some for the next time. So he left $2 in his piggy and it took $10 to the store. So he had manually counted everything he had to spend. And he had bought a couple of things for himself, his brothers. And when he thought he had $10 spent. When he got there, he actually had $7 spent and was like, I have more money. And he went running, right? And got some more stuff. But now guess how much it ended up being, Paula?
I guess you went over the $10.
He went over the $10. And that's what always happens to us, even as adults. I have some more money. What else can I buy?
That's why we hate sales.
Right? Rather than I have more money, how can I save it?
Mm-hmm.
But because we're always thinking about credit worthiness, spending, right? You move to a new country and they don't say, what's your net worth? You move to a new country, they say, what's your credit score?
Yeah.
So we're encouraged to go buy something, to go get a credit card, right? So it's really starting to help people understand what your net worth statement is and how much you are worth, how much you are building, rather than how much you are spending or how much you owe, the value of that. And I had to tell him, son, now you owe $2. So I pay it for you. You're going to have to pay me back. So he got home, can I get the $2 out of your piggy? I'm like, why do I have to pay it? I said, because you spent it and it wasn't yours. So you must pay it. Right? And he had to give me the $2 and it sure hurts. I'm like, that's what happens when you spend other people's money. So what was the lesson? When you had the 7, keep it. Keep the difference. You had to $10, there was 7. Don't spend it. Keep it. You spend it the next time you come, or you save it and use it for something else, right? So long answer to a short question.
No, but that's a great way to teach kids money values, because it's the sense where oftentimes, as soon as I get money, I run to the store and I get as many candies as I can, even if it's going to be all gone or down the drain by the next day, but that's how I'm going to do.
And our candies change as we grow older, right? As little kids, it was candies. Now our candies is a brand new bag, a brand new necklace, shirts, shoes. The candies change.
The candies change, and we get to adulthood, and it's a brand new car. It's those special shoes, that purse, whatever it is. And the idea is, as you say, can we spend more time in keeping the money in rather than spending it? Because we're seeing it as a treat, but that treat can end up putting us in fragile situations.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd like you to talk about money conversations between spouses.
Oh, that's a hot topic. It's like hot potato.
Why do I do this to you?
Well, because you love me sometimes.
I know. Such a beautiful person. Yes.
No, but I think as a family, it is so important to talk about money. One of the leading causes of divorce in the world today is money, right? And many times it's not having the money conversation. It's assumptions about money. We all think the same way about money. We actually don't think the same way about money. I'm going to use a real life example of my household, right? So in my household, the roles are kind of reversed. I don't like shopping. So yes, I know I'm a lady, but if you take me to a shop, I'm not your best friend. I just want to get out of the shop. I do not like to shop. But my husband, on the other hand, loves to shop, right? He's always looking for bargains, looking for, hey, how can we get a bunch of this stuff, right? So, but for a long time, I didn't realize that we both just thought differently about money. But the more we started having the conversation, I realized, hey, whereas I would always look at cash flow, he would always look at accumulation. I'm looking at short-term cash flow. He's looking at accumulation. So it's how do we find the balance there was where we started learning our journey on. And as a couple, if you're not learning to talk about money, you don't even know how both of you think about money. Mm-hmm. So you think the other person is such a bad spender. No, he's just looking for bargains. And he may think, oh, I just do not like to spend money. Oh, I'm just thinking, how do we keep the cash flow in? But once you start to understand each other by asking questions, right? Create the space for questions to be asked and realize that the other party isn't against you. Mm-hmm. You are in that boat together, but you've got to talk about money. Don't leave the conversation undiscussed, right? How are we spending this? This is the income we got this month. Where are we putting it to? Or we're paying off this debt. How do we plan to do it? And my husband always says to think of your house like a business. If your home was a business, would you buy your own budget? Right? Would you be able to defend your own budget? And businesses talk about money. They talk about money coming in, money going out, right? Or money, how do we plan for the future? What are our future goals? So it's so important as couples to talk about it. And I think another thing I believe is important, especially in the economy we live in, where I find many of my clients are in so much debt. When they talk about money and they see that all the credit cards, lines of credit, boat loans, ship loans, all sorts of loans in front of them, people honestly get weighed down. Debt has this emotional connection that it can weigh you down emotionally. It can put such a heavy weight on you. And one of the things I start to teach people is, now, whether you're a God person or you're not, you must have faith when you're talking about your money. You must have faith that if you put the work in to go work outside and bring money in, you can meet your needs, right? Or you can get out of debt. You simply need to understand the strategies to do it. So as you're talking to yourself as a couple, have some faith that your goals can be met, right? But you must have conversations about it, right?
So let's just say we're looking at a couple in this area, in this time, should I say, and one of them has lost their job. What's the first thing they should do?
Oh, Paula. Yeah,
beside crying, because
No, I smile because in our 18 years of being married, we've been on that journey 3 times. 3 months after we got married, when I met him, he was a manager. So I was working in Nigeria. He was a manager in this international company. He was earning in foreign currency. And 3 months after we got married, he lost his job for 2 years. He didn't have a job, right? And then when we moved to UK, 4 years into being in UK, he lost his job also for another a year and a half. We didn't have a job. In Canada, about a year or 2 years of being in Canada, he lost his job again for another 2 years, and he didn't have a job. Right? So I've been there, 3 T-shirts.
And I hope you sold all of them. Don't want to go back there if possible.
No, I'm done. And that's one of the key things that drove me really to having a backup plan. Creating businesses with multiple streams of income and learning to keep rather than spend all the time. Because once one income goes, your expenses don't go down.
No.
We still had to pay our mortgages. We still had to feed the kids. The first time around, there were no kids. It was just the 2 of us, so we could smile and be hungry and just love each other and be hungry. But now they're kids, right? The other 2 times they were kids. You still have to feed those children. I still had to go to work. I still needed gas. You still needed to heat the house up. So one of the first things is to understand where you are. When an income is lost, sit down and count the cost of where you are. How much income do we have now? Good thing in Canada, you may have access to EI. Most people have access to EI, but it's nowhere near what you used to earn before, right? So you need to find out how much do you have now, and then figure out what are the things that you must pay for, right? Your rent or your mortgage, you don't want to lose the house, right? Your utilities, you got to keep the house warm, right? Groceries, maybe you need to stretch groceries a little bit more. Maybe all those special little things you can't buy anymore. Take decisions on, if you had 2 cars, maybe only use the one, right? Decide if you are going to drive, decide, is that journey worth taking? Really start to question some of the things that you do. And then most importantly, whether it's the lady or whether it's the man, remember that the other person who's lost their job have lost identity also.
True that.
Because for all of us, whether we're male or female, our jobs were our identity.
Often.
So they didn't just lose income, they lost value in themselves. So that person is struggling with not having money, but also feeling unworthy. So whoever is still making money must make sure they do not devalue the other person.
That's huge advice.
Right? So it's things like, be willing to make the money available. Don't let the other person have to ask, please, can I have some? No, it's as simple as, he could have asked me. But remember, his value, he used to also have and was used to just taking. So suddenly his value is gone. So you must still let him or her, it could also be the lady, right? You must still let them feel valuable. So if you don't have a joint account, I'm not saying have joint accounts. If you have a joint account, makes life easy. If you do not have, make it accessible. I'll tell you
Mhm.
a short story. The first time we went on that journey, so I was always the one working or whose business was still going on, right? And we had separate accounts then because we had just gotten married. And I'll pay for whatever bills we could pay, and we just kind of, okay, what can we pay? What can we manage on? But I had my checkbook, so I will issue the checks and we do all that. And a pastor's wife had called me once and said, in the thick of this loss of a job, and said, how do you guys share the money? I'm like, oh, I just pay the bills. And she was like, does he have access to anything? What if he needs something? Like, oh, he should ask. And it was like, do you have access? I was like, well, I felt uncomfortable. Like, wouldn't he also feel uncomfortable?
Mm.
Right. And then all I just started doing was actually sign my checkbooks and leave it available. Yes, it takes a lot of trust in the other party, but you shouldn't be in that home if you don't trust them.
Yeah.
If I'm going to share my body with you, or I should be able to share my money with you.
Mhm.
So if the kids here, that's real. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So, and I suddenly started making those things available. And he turned around and said, I suddenly felt valued in my own home. So that value is so
It's
important
huge.
after loss of income. It is so important to the other party. And another thing that is important is learn to be frugal but not stingy.
Mhm. That's a good one.
Yeah. And that's always important, especially for people like me who are thinking about the cash flow. We don't want to spend. Sometimes it can be penny wise and pound foolish, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In your frugality, don't be stingy to each other. Don't be stingy to people. Some laws still work. Give and it will be given back to you,
Mhm.
right? You may
Yep.
not have a million to give. It may be a little bit of your time. You bought grocery, buy an extra bag of onions and just give a friend in church, or
Mhm.
give a friend, your neighbor, or one of your kids' friends. You may say they don't need anything, but you're sowing seeds that speak for
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So you
Oh,
may
it,
not
it
always
is
have
all.
people,
It
but you're
is all for
sowing
me
seeds that
about
you can
values. Yeah.
get. Yeah. Yeah.
And as you say, in this current economy where there's so many people that are already burdened by the fact that we're not making the money we used to make. If
Yeah.
on top of that you have those conversations where I don't feel value, I shouldn't have had to ask this, it just makes the situation even more intense. And
Yeah.
this is for me why it's so important to have those money conversation. You want to
Yeah.
have those conversation when things are going well, because when things are not going well, the emotions take over. And then all of a sudden he said, okay, yes, so that's fine. No, he said, okay. So, and it's just like, it changes everything.
It does.
And that's the portion where, as adults, we need to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And what we often forget is that the kids that are in the house, they also see things are changing.
That's right. They're watching you. They see more than you know.
And if you're not involving them in that conversation, daddy has lost his job or mommy has lost his job. We want to ensure we're doing well. So we're going to look at what we're doing. So
Yeah.
if we used to go to the movies every week and it was what, 50 or $60 for the family every night, maybe we'll do movies home. We'll get
Yeah.
Netflix and then blah, 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 have our own popcorn. So there's different ways of doing it, but it's
Exactly.
involving the kids. I have seen many families going through a really rough time, and they're not letting the kids know. So they're making expenses that have no value just so
Mm.
the kids don't know.
Yeah.
Then this is the part where you're creating that sense of scarcity and that sense of inner stress within the household, because the kids pick
Yes.
up on those things too.
They do. I was, and I'm glad you mentioned that. When I was growing up, I was brought up by a single mother, right? And so it was just one income looking after three of us. And my mother would always tell us, this is how much I brought home this month. This is how much you can get. This is what we are paying for out of it. This is what is left. Maybe that was where my cash flow thing always came from, because I was always calculating the cash on her behalf. So by the time she came home and said, this is how much she's got, this is how much we have to pay to all the bills, this is what is left. When anybody else is buying something, I'm calculating, okay, what's left out of mommy's money? Like, so you didn't ask for unnecessary things, right? You learn to respect even what she was doing. And same thing, the first two journeys we went through of one spouse not having a job. The first time we didn't have kids. The second time our son then was so young, he didn't even know what was happening. But the third time we had older kids, and we kind of let them know, hey, that's not working right now. It's just one mom's income that is here. So we all have to pull together. And it was so funny. My older one there, because at that time I started running my business, would do everything and say, hey, mommy, I spoke to somebody about your business, right? Anywhere he was going to, he was telling people what his mom did so his mom can make some money. And he'll tell them, my mom runs her own business. We need to make money. So can she talk to you? Yeah. Suddenly he understood that value has to be brought home, right? And we couldn't just do it anyhow. And those conversations were important, right? We had to change certain things. We couldn't do 3 sports. You could only do one sport. And we explained why. Hey, look, we can't do, this is how much those sports. And I tell them how much they cost. And like, Mom, I'm like, that's how much the sports cost. You're going to do it, right? You have to decide to do it, right? And it's important. So they grow and understand the value of things themselves, right? So.
Because I mention often, I live close to a school. And there's a time in the year where the kids just get rid of their cell phones. They just throw it. So, and then they tell their parents they don't. And it's usually around the time that a new Apple type of product is coming out. And you're thinking, oh my God. And I remember the first few years that we were there, my kids would come home, Mom, I found another phone. And it's just like, okay, let's call. Because I'm a parent. I'm thinking, let's call the number, see if anybody's answering. They're not answering. They don't care. They don't want to. And you're like, wow. And that's the part. If you're not letting your kids know and understand the value of things, those phones cost money. Whether you're feeling it or not, somebody's paying for it. So that's the portion.
And you must let them know somebody's paying for it.
That's it. And let them know they're paying for it. And I know with my kids, it's okay to lose something once. It's not okay to do something twice, 3 times, 4 times. No. The first time we'll replace this. The second time, now this becomes a shared game. Okay, yes. I'm sorry. It's gonna have to wait because I have other priorities. And that's this is, to me, as I was doing it, it was to let them appreciate. If it means nothing to you, you're not gonna pay attention to it.
Yes. It's as simple as my 8-year-old. So you know how 8-year-olds lose gloves all the time. So each time he does, I tell him, look, that glove was important. That's why we bought it. Right? If you go to school without gloves, you're gonna be cold. You must learn to keep your gloves. And each time I tell him where to keep it. So eventually one of this time we went shopping together and I say, see how much those gloves cost? Now, remember how you said you wanted to make some money? Imagine every time you lose a glove, you're going to be losing money. So the last time I gave him, before I bought him this new set, which he now fights to keep, I gave him my gloves. And I said, those gloves are important to me. They cost money. They must come back. And he had gone to the playground and he lost the glove. He didn't go back to class. He was looking for it. The teacher called me like, he was worried about his gloves. And we told him it didn't matter. I'm like, madam, it matters. He must learn to keep it, right? So eventually they found it and they brought it. And now he's had this set of gloves and I haven't had to remind him to keep them. I got them, mommy. I keep them now. It costs money.
And it's those things where, as parent, if we're not transferring those values, the challenge is they become adults and they don't know. Do I pay the rent or do I go to dinner? Do I put gas in the car or I just catch a Uber? Do I pay insurance, or it's just these things where they can't see that longer pictures and then they make
value is understanding what is valuable.
Yeah.
What is important.
Definitely. Thank you. What is the hardest lesson you've had to learn as a mom and as an entrepreneur?
The hardest lesson as a mom is figuring out your kids are individuals too,
I love.
right? Because we watch them from this tiny little things that were a part of us, and we're trying to pass on who we are, but they're individuals too, right? And I must learn to
Yes.
correct them, but within their own individuality. And it can sometimes be very tough too, because I maybe want them to look a particular way, but I must remember that they're an individual too, right? And who is that person going to become tomorrow, or how does his personality work different from the other child, right? That for me has been a hard lesson,
Mhm.
just allowing the individual they are to shine
Time.
while still trying to mold the personality of the child,
Mhm.
right? I can't remember who. I believe it was John Maxwell or someone who had said, if you cannot talk to a child who is 7 or 8, why do you think you should talk to them when they're 18, 19? Right? And
Mhm.
18, 19, they need to hear from us. But if they
Mhm.
haven't learned to hear from us at 8 or 9, because we don't treat them as individuals, we can't talk to them at 18, 19 when they're fighting for individuality.
Mhm. Totally agree.
Yeah, so that has been my toughest journey, and I'm still working on
Mhm.
it.
Trust me, my own adult children. There are moments that I still have to step back, and it's just like, okay, they're not doing it the way I would have chose to do it, but is it still a viable option?
Yeah.
And it's in a sense, even when they ask you advice about money, you give the advice, understanding that it will be their decision. It
Yes.
will not be, I told you not to do it, because yeah, it ain't gonna happen. Because you want them coming back if there's a problem.
Yeah,
So
and part of realizing they're individuals is allowing them make decisions,
yeah,
and sometimes fail at those decisions and be there to catch them.
yeah. And to me, it's huge because for me, I have
We
seen
don't want them to fail.
no, you don't want them to fail, but then at the same time, if they don't understand failure,
Yeah.
then they will not work hard to avoid it.
Yes.
And that's it's a fine balance. It's not an easy one. Trust me, being a parent is definitely not what it was cracked up to be. Give
No,
you the sense that you tell them, and they do. It's like, no, that's not. It's not. And if you want to maintain a relationship, you have to realize that as they're evolving, whether it's about money, whether it's about schooling, whether it's about friendship, you have to let them establish their own boundaries. Let them understand what's important and why it's important. Because
yeah,
what's important to me might not have that same weight for that other child. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
how do we pass those on?
yeah, of course.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and as an entrepreneur, oh wow, toughest this journey, lessons as an entrepreneur is realizing that the mindset of an employee is completely different from the mindset of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Many of us are trained, not many of us, all of us are trained in school to
Hmm.
be employees. Do you know that?
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
I was just thinking about it 2 days ago again. We go to school and everybody is asked to conform. Sit
That's
down
right.
at this time, go to lunch at that time, come back here. We are taught how to sit and conform. If you're the one who is wanting to move around and be creative and do stuff, you're the bad guy.
Hmm.
Right? You're taught how to be given a task, do the task you're given, not how to create a task and find the task, create the task and finish the task, right? And we then become entrepreneurs, and we have to do that. You
Mhm.
have to not wait to be given. You have to go find.
Yeah.
Right? You got to either think like a farmer or like a hunter,
Mhm.
not like somebody who is being given to. And I had to make that switch in my mind, becoming an entrepreneur. So no, you either have to be a farmer where you're sowing those seeds knowing it's coming, or you have to be a hunter. You got to go out and go kill that thing,
Mhm.
find it, and bring it
Yeah.
home. But it's not going to be given to you, right? That's the employee. And that when people say they're looking for safety, that's really what they're saying. I
Yeah.
want somebody to give it to me. I don't want to have to go find it, which
Mhm.
is why the entrepreneur, the risk he's taking is the risk of going to find or the
Mhm.
risk of planting,
Mhm.
right? Rather than just receiving a harvest that somebody else has done, right? That has been my biggest.
Okay. I love what you're saying because we've had that debate with my kids for years, and I remember when my eldest finished all of her schooling, and I think it was somewhere in May, and not thinking, me not thinking, I'm like, so what are your plans for the fall? And every time I would ask her, she would just wave me off, and at one point she's just like, will you stop asking? And I'm like, okay, what's going on? She said, this is the first time in my life that I don't know what I'm going to do in September. Because for, I don't know, 20 some years, you kept going. September, I do this. September, I do this. Then you're
Yes.
finished. This in summer is September. And
Yeah.
that's the part. And I think it's the same thing, same mentality when you're an employee. There's a lot of guesswork that is taken out of the equation. And
Yes.
then all of a sudden, something like this happened. Let's just say nobody planned for the pandemic. So there were a
Mhm.
lot of employees who had to figure out, okay, need to start hustling, need to
That's
go
right.
hunting because whatever I had before, the way I was operating might not be viable.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you. Other question for you. And I know the people who know me know that I'm all about boundaries. What boundary have you implemented in your personal or your professional life that has created the most personal growth or space for you?
The value of my time.
Yes.
Because I'm not just an entrepreneur, I'm a mother. I'm a mother of
Mhm,
young children, so they still demand a lot of my time.
mhm,
Um, I am I'm a gospel artist, so I sing also.
mhm. So
Uh,
that would be our soul.
big also,
Mhm,
right? So there's just a lot of things that pull on my time, and when you go from being an employee to an entrepreneur, sometimes people think you're free. And they start to go, "Okay, could you do this for us? Oh, could you do this for us? Could you do that for us?" I'm like,
I know. Because it's just
I
like
didn't say I suddenly
time
had
doesn't
nothing to
fly for
do.
you. You're an entrepreneur. You do whatever, whenever. Yeah,
Right?
true. Hmm.
I had somebody call me like, I called you, you didn't pick up the phone. I was busy. We're like, but you're an entrepreneur. You should do whatever you want. You should be free at any time. I'm like, no, as an entrepreneur, I should be freaking busy. You
I
shouldn't be
should be
able to call me.
reliable and attend to my clients, paying clients.
So really, really starting to put boundaries on my time um, really helped me with the biggest level of growth, figuring out what is my work time,
Mhm,
right? Especially where, because as a business owner, you're in control of your own time, right? So when do I work?
mhm,
When am I not working? I find sometimes when we're business owners or in this gig economy, lots of people are doing MLMs now and gigs and all that. If you do not set a time for work, when you're supposed to now be with family, you're thinking about work and you're unhappy with yourself about being with your family because you haven't told your mind this is stop time,
mhm,
right? So if I say, hey, I'm working, my work time starts at about 7:38 and I go up until 2 because I got to go pick the kids from school.
mhm.
Then I spend about 2, 3 hours with them and I start again at 6. and I go till about 9:30, 10, right? Then I do some paperwork and I go back. In between that, I probably would have stopped and made sure, they've gone off to bed or their dinner is done. Or I got a 2-year-old who still yet doesn't understand my boundaries yet, but we're working on that one.
It's two. We're giving him a little bit more time.
Yeah, we're working on that. And then after that, I get to do other family stuff or whatever I'm doing. And then also putting in there growth time, right? Because many times we're building our business, but we're not developing ourselves.
Yes.
And who you become determines the success or where you're achieving the success you're looking for. Right? I used to be one of those people who thought success was the destination until I realized it is the person you become on the way to what you thought was your destination. Because when you get to that destination, you find out it's not
Something
enough.
else. Yeah.
There's another hill. There's another hill. But once you start to realize I am on a journey to a better me, I am successful. Then it can start to translate to all the bigger cars and houses and all those things that you want. But it's the person we become. And so just valuing my time, making time for growth, making time for family. I want to make sure I have a business, but I don't lose my spouse or I don't lose my kids, right? So making time for that. And that doesn't mean I don't do my business. I do my business and I let my kids know when it's work time, right? When it's, I pray when it's prayer time. Well, they know I'm praying. So sit down with me. We're praying. It's prayer time, right? Just valuing my time and creating boundaries around my time. Sometimes people, I'm going to give out this secret now. Oh my God, those who know will now know what I'm doing. Sometimes people call and I don't pick up, like I'm in a meeting. The meeting may be I'm feeding my kid, but it is a meeting.
Yes,
my calendar, right? Or you call me and I'm studying and I don't pick the call. Well, it's my growth time. I'll call you right after that, right? So
and what I'm hearing as well is that I'm making a priority to invest in myself and in my business. I can't be the mom that I need to be if I'm all into the business, and I can't be the entrepreneur that I need to be if I don't have any balance and I don't spend time with my family. So it's figuring out how I put the steps so that my actions reflect my values. Because sometimes you say, yeah, I'm doing all of this for you kids, but the kids are like, yeah, but I might as well go because we ain't seeing you no more. So, and that those are important things, because sometimes in the gist of the activity, we sometimes lose track of that longer destination, if we can call it. What would be one last key message that you would want to leave with our listeners?
Oh, wow. Invest regularly.
Okay.
Now, when I say that, you're going to think money. And I know how easy it is to think money. But invest regularly. Invest regularly in yourself. That will mean self-develop yourself. Even if you're an employee, self-develop. Right? I heard somebody say, I believe it was Tony Robbins, who said, oh, somebody said I have 40 years experience. He says, no, you have 1 year's experience learning something and 39 years just doing the same thing.
Not good. Not good. Okay.
All right. So invest in yourself. Self-develop, get better, invest in yourself, love yourself. Right? Take time to love who you are. Just appreciate where you are. Invest in yourself. Invest in the ones you love. If you have a spouse, take time and invest in them, right? Find out what their love language is. How do they want to be appreciated? And spend time. It doesn't have to be 10 hours.
No.
Just spend a little bit of time. Sit down together sometimes.
Quality means more than quantity.
It means so much more than quantity.
Yeah, because sometimes there's people right next to you and you're thinking, oh my God, when are they going to leave? Quantity is not always the best.
No,
but you want to make it count.
You want to make it count, which is why I said know their love languages. If you haven't read the book,
Mhm.
go find the book, The
Oh,
Five Love
I
Languages.
love that book. Trust me,
Yes.
I live by that. I started
Yes.
understanding some of my kids because of that book.
Right?
Because we're
Exactly.
different, and you
It
just
is.
assume everybody is like you, and that's that. Don't ask me. That's how we are as humans, and then you realize no, they don't think about it that way at all. So okay, so how do you think? What
E-
matters to you? Yeah.
Exactly. And many times I started asking my husband, so why did you say so? How do you think about that? Why you, right? And start to invest time in the other person, invest time in your kids. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. Right. I ask questions. If your kids are like mine, they love hugs. So there's always a lot of hugs going around in my house,
Mhm,
right? Even the little ones, they just love hugs, right? Um, Invest in your business. If you
mhm,
don't have a side hustle, get yourself one,
mhm,
right? The pandemic has showed us that, right? Invest in your business. And then the one you've all been waiting for, invest your money.
mhm, mhm.
Remember the story I told earlier. You've been earning 100,000 for the last 20 years, right? That's $2 million. Sorry, not 20 million. My account was bad.
Mhm.
Don't tell my lecturers, okay? Uh, that's $2 million you've earned in that time. How many did you keep?
Yeah.
Right? No matter how small, invest. There are things you can invest in that can help you do that. Talk to someone professional who knows what to do. So that was the tip I would leave. Invest. Start to invest regularly, whatever that means to you. Right? Invest in
And
your
and
health. What are you eating? Right?
and I love it because when you say invest regularly, to me, there's two things. The invest is comprised of so many different things from investing in yourself, investing in your growth, investing in the people you love, investing in your community, but
Yes.
also regularly. Don't do this one off because if I sat with you one time in 2010, I can expect to come in 2020 and say, I want to reap the seeds. It's gone. So it's the two elements work. At least for me, it's
Yeah.
beautiful advice. How can people get in contact with you if they want to know more about finances or know more about your singing?
Well, for my singing, my website is Olive Esuturie. So my last name is spelled on there. .com. My Instagram and Facebook page is also the same. Olive Esuturie. That's my stage name. Um, for business, you can contact me. My telephone number is public. You can have it. If you call me when I don't want to pick it, I won't pick it.
We know that now.
All right, you can contact me. Telephone number 306-850-0480. I text, I reply, I
Mhm.
call. Um, you can also check me out on LinkedIn, the same name, Oladunni Esuturie. LinkedIn is a great place. You can connect with me there, chat with me there. And I just love to be on service to people that way.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
I knew it was going to be a nice conversation. Can you believe she was shy and she said she wasn't sure she could do this? Okay, sorry, I'm revealing secrets. That's not what I meant to do. But she has done really well according by at least by my standard. I
Thank
hope
you.
I hope our listeners also got some gems that they could use. And I would say for me, what I'm gonna remember invest regularly. Not to
Yeah.
say that everything else doesn't matter, but that one is precious. And it's this sense where it's all about balance.
Mm.
All about balance. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for constantly speaking to people with this beautiful show that you're doing, helping us get real, not just with Paula, but real with life. Thank you. You're a special,
Yes.
beautiful person. Thank you.
Thank you.